Hello everyone, today is 6th of April. My name is Sahil and welcome to the newspaper analysis. Now guys, first of all, let's have a look on today's GS folder. So today we'll take a quote from an American philosopher John Dewey. He says, democracy has to be born anew every generation and education is its midwife. Now guys, into this particular quote, John Dewey has focused that democratic ideas, democratic values and democratic traditions do change with coming of new times and new generations, and there the education plays a very important role. The level of education will define the level of democracy into a particular country. Guys, you can utilize this particular quote in the questions related to GS paper number 2 as well as into the essays. So guys, that is all about today's GS folder, and now let's move to the newspaper analysis. Now, guys, taking up the first article, this article has been taken up from the Indian Express newspaper, and here we can see the abuse of National Security Act 1980 by the government in order to silence the criticism or dissent. And here we can see that the Allahabad High Court's directions have also been lashed out. Guys, this particular article's reference you can utilize in GS paper number 2 as well as into the essays. Now, before talking about this particular article, let's see some of the basic information. Guys, into the context of India, there is one important legislation, that is the National Security Act 1980. Now, this particular act is a preventive detention law which has been created by deriving the powers that have been given under Article number 22, subclause 3, subclause B. Now, under Article number 22, preventive detention has been talked about. Preventive detention is one where there is a fear that Mr. A might do something bad or might do something wrong. So, the idea of preventive detention is to detain this particular person before he does the bad thing, and this particular role is played by the National Security Act. Now guys, under here there is a power to arrest that has been given without any formal charge or without any trial. Now when we talk about the NSA, here the center as well as the state government both have the power that they can detain any person to prevent him to act in a manner which is prejudicial to national security, which can disrupt the public order, or for the maintenance of supplies and services essential to the community. And the detentions period can be 12 months, and it can further be increased if there is some fresh evidence which has been found. Moreover guys, the NSA has been called as a draconian law because there are no basic rights to the people who have been detained under the NSA, and it includes many of the important rights. For example, the right to be informed for the reasons of the arrest. So many a times even the people are kept into the dark that why they have been arrested. After that, there are some other persons also which are given to the detained. For example, section 56 and 76 of the CRPC provides that a person has to be produced before a court within 24 hours of arrest. After that, the article 22 subclause 1 of the Indian Constitution provides that a person cannot be denied the right to consult and to be defended by a legal practitioner of his choice. Now, the person who have been detained under the NSA, they are not entitled to the aid of any legal practitioner, and therefore NSA has been called as a kind of a draconian law. Now guys, what has happened into the past few days, there have been slamming of NSA on many of the individuals. At least 120 habeas corpus petitions have been filed in front of Allahabad High Court. Now guys, as it is a habeas corpus petition, you know that it pertains to writ, and obviously it might have been filed under article number 226 of the Indian Constitution. Now, if it would have been filed into the Supreme Court, you might be knowing that it could have been filed under Article number 32. Now, guys, further moving. So, Allahabad High Court, after investigating the matter, had found that in 94 of the cases, the order of the district magistrate who had allowed the arrest under the NSA was wrong, and 94 of these orders have been quashed. It means that, and even into the cases where there is no substance, the NSA is being applied. There is a kind of a mindless application. Guys, here you can see that there are the copycat orders which are being passed, no due process of law which is being followed. And if we talk about the category where the NSA has been slammed, then majority of them has been slammed onto the cases related to the cow slaughter, which is the category number 1. Now guys, even here the people from the minority community have been targeted, and therefore the Allahabad High Court had said that such indiscriminate application, mindless application of the NSA should not be there, but it has not deterred the enforcement agencies. And at the end of the day, these are the factors which makes India to be nominated as flawed democracy, autocratic electoral democracy, etc. So guys, that is all about this article, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Guys, this article has been taken from the Indian Express, and here we can see that suddenly the crude oil price that is being supplied by Saudi Arabia to India, its price has been increased, and we'll be seeing that why this particular issue has happened. Guys, this article will be important for our GS paper number 2 under India's diplomatic relations, as well as in GS paper number 3 under economy also it can be utilized, because increase in oil price has huge impact on many of the indicators such as inflation, economic recovery, etc. Now, guys, what has happened? Let's take this thing from very basic background. See, recently, Saudi Arabia's national oil company, that is Saudi Aramco, had increased the price of oil shipments to Asia by 20 to 50 cents per barrel, and therefore it will have a direct implication to India also. Now, guys, this thing is in contrast with what Saudi Arabia is doing with other regions. For example, for the Northwest Europe, no increase has been there, and even there have been a decrease for the oil shipments going to the USA. So directly a discriminatory approach here is being seen. Now, this particular decision has been taken into a meet of OPEC Plus. Guys, OPEC Plus is an organization of 23 major oil producing countries. Now, why this particular thing has happened? So, guys, it has, you might be knowing that when the lockdown was announced or the pandemic was going on, at that point of time, oil's consumption was very much declined, and because of that particular thing, oil's prices were also declined, because it works onto the demand and supply. See, in initial period there was the same supply, but the demand went down, so the prices also went down, and at one point of time it fell as low as $20 per barrel. Then it was decided by the OPEC that this particular thing cannot continue, so therefore in order to compensate with the reduced demand, they will also make the supply cuts, and by this particular thing artificially the prices have again been increased. Here you can see that the prices of the crude oil were $40 per barrel in October, and recently it has been increased to $64 per barrel, and in between it has reached other high marks also. Now, in response to this manipulation that is being done by the OPEC and majorly by the Saudi Arabia, India decided that it will diversify its import of the oil, because Saudi Arabia, one of the member of OPEC, is one of the largest supplier of crude oil to India. Now, guys, in response to this India's decision, now the Saudi Arabia had increased the price of crude for the Asia. Further, it has also been said that if India will further be going into this particular direction, it can also tweak the arrangements under the contract also, by which again the prices of crude can be increased. So this is the response of Saudi Arabia. Now, guys, here India needs to urgently focus onto the other sources of energy such as the renewable energy, green sources, etc., if India wants to reduce the dependences. So, guys, this is all about this particular article, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Guys, this article has been taken from the Hindu newspaper, and it will be important under the GS paper number 2, the bilateral relations of India. Now, here we can see that the foreign minister of Russia is on a visit to India, and Russia India foreign ministers meet is going to be held. Into this particular meet, some key decisions or some key issues will be taken up. Number one is the LAC. It has been seen that still China has not completely disengaged onto the LAC, and still there is some significant presence. So on to that particular thing, the exchanges will be made between the two countries. After that, guys, here the Russia will also update the India onto the Afghan talks. We have already seen that right now Afghan peace talks are going on. Now, guys, recently on March 18, there was a summit on Afghanistan that was held by the Russia, and into that summit, India was not invited. And now it is expected that whatever development took place there, update will be given by Russia to the India here into this foreign ministers meet. And then, guys, the third matter that will be discussed is the S-400 Triumphs deal. Now, S-400 is an anti-missile defense system that India is purchasing, which has the capacity to neutralize the ballistic missiles aircrafts that are coming into the India's territory. Now, friends, as S-400 Triumph is being supplied by Russia to India, US have some of the problems, and there might be the sanctions that US might impose onto the India under the CAATSA Act, that is the Countering America's Adversaries Through Sanction Act. So it will be discussed that how the sanction onto the India can be evaded. So, guys, these are all the matters that are going to be discussed. However, actual meet will happen today, and into the next days, that is tomorrow's newspaper, further updations will be there. And if there is some additional information comes apart from it, we will discuss that also. So guys, this is all about this particular meet. I hope that you have understood. Now we'll be moving to the next article. Guys, this article has been taken from the Hindu newspaper as well as from the Indian Express newspaper, and they are talking about the recent attack onto the Indian paramilitary personnel by the Maoist into the Chhattisgarh's Tarem area. Guys, this particular article can be important for our GS paper number 3 into the topic of internal security. Now, see, when we talk about the left wing extremism that is going on into the India, the left wing extremism is a very big problem, and in 2004 the Prime Minister of India, Mr. Manmohan Singh, called it as the gravest internal security threat. Now, guys, the left wing extremism in India majorly believes into the philosophy of Mao. Therefore, it is also called as the Maoist problem or the Maoist insurgency. Now, guys, this Maoist insurgency's genesis happened in 1970s into the West Bengal's Naxalbari area. And because of that, many a times it is also called as Naxalism. Now, guys, when we talk about the Naxalism, Maoism, or left wing extremism's prevalence into the India, it is majorly consolidated to the central interior tribal regions of India. Now, guys, earlier the Maoist problem was very much prominent into the states of Andhra Pradesh, West Bengal, Jharkhand, Odisha, Maharashtra, Chhattisgarh, etc. But today it is a major problem in Chhattisgarh. Even see the districts which were impacted by the left wing extremism or the red corridor districts, they have been declined. Number one, in 2000s there were 200 districts which were impacted. Now there are just 90 districts which have been impacted. But again, through into the different episodes, the Maoist strike and our paramilitary security personnel, they die. When we talk about the major attack that was made onto the Indian paramilitary force, it was in 2010 when the 76 personnel they died. Then in 2013 there was an attack that was made on the convoy of the Congress where the nearly all senior leadership was wiped out. And now in 2021 the attack has been made into the Tarem, which is near to the Sukma region. Now, guys, it has been seen that first of all there are some of the tactical lapses which are responsible. See, when we talk about this particular incident, there were the paramilitary forces that were going to hunt down one of the Maoist leader whose name is Hidma, and he is one of the most elusive leader of the Maoist. Now, see, as this particular ambush happened, the paramilitary personnels which were going, they were from the different units. They had the members of Special Task Force, the District Reserve Guard of the Chhattisgarh Police, then there were the members of the Central Reserve Police Force and the Cobra unit. Now, as they were proceeding, they were not able to anticipate the attack, and this particularly fatality occurred. Now, see, if what are the reasons for this particular trend? Number one, guys, there are inaccessible areas where there is no telecom accessibility as well as road infrastructure is not there. And because of that, what happens, the Maoists, they have an inherent advantage because they are the tribals and they have a much more expertise and knowledge of the terrain. So advantage of terrain is there. Secondly, guys, when we talk about the area, particularly Chhattisgarh, the nuisance of the Maoist is still there. Why? Because the state police is a key agency which can deter the Maoist forces. Now, when we talk about the role of a state police, then guys, state police had played an important role into the states of Andhra Pradesh, West Bengal, Odisha, Maharashtra, Bihar, and Jharkhand. But the same thing has not happened for the case of Chhattisgarh. Now, see, into the Andhra Pradesh, the Greyhounds had restricted the Maoism's influence to a minuscule number. Then into the Maharashtra also, the Maoists were a very prominent force, but now they have been confined just to the area of Gadchiroli. And here, the local police as well as the C-64s of Maharashtra had played an important role. Then into the West Bengal, the achievement of normalcy has been there because the state police had played an important role. After that, into the Jharkhand Jaguars, which are a force states of Jharkhand had gained an upper hand and the Maoist has been restricted. Then into the Odisha also, the Maoist activity has been restricted to the Malkangiri, and here the role has been played by the police of the state. So here we can see that all the places, the state police is playing an important role. This thing is possible because the state police is drawn from the local population, and local population has better know-how of the regional language, regional terrain, regional geography, and therefore they can counter. But when the paramilitary force from the central forces are guard, they are not having that specific knowledge of a geographical terrain. So therefore the role of state police is an important one, which Chhattisgarh had not completely leveraged. Then after that, guys, it has been seen that Maoists are actually very much weakened today when we compare them to 2000, because a kind of a development has came to the region. But guys, still the development and welfare into the interior tribal region is needed, because when the development is not there, these people are frustrated and they join the Maoist forces as a mode of employment or as a mode of frustration. So development and welfare into the interior is also to be carried. And now again, it is a time that a multi-stakeholder approach is to be taken in account as how these particular factors can be countered in such a way that Maoists don't have such a stronghold and such kind of fatal incidents are avoided into the future. So guys, that is all about this particular article, and please do utilize the success stories. Now guys, please do refer to this particular article of the Indian Express, and here the state by state story has been given that how they had tackled the Maoist forces. So if you want, you can read it. So that is all, and now we'll move to the next article. Friends, this article has been taken from the Hindu newspaper, and it talks about some of the urgent judicial reforms that are needed into the India, and therefore it will be important for our GS paper number 2, the judiciary and its role. Now, first of all, let's take some of the basic background information. Guys, we in India follow a system of integrated and independent judiciary, and apart from it, right to fair and equitable justice has also been given as a fundamental right. Now guys, because of the integrated nature of judiciary in India, any court case originating in any tribunal, any court, can wound up into the Supreme Court of India. Now when the Constituent Assembly was framing the layout of the judiciary in India, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar led drafting committee was very much clear. It wanted that there needs to be a specified place of sitting, and the litigant should very clearly know that where to go and whom to approach. So therefore the designated seat of the Supreme Court was selected as Delhi. However guys, at the same point of time, the Constituent Assembly was concerned that such kind of thing should not become a deterrent. So therefore a power was given to the Chief Justice of India that if he wants, he can constitute the circuit bench into the different parts of the country of the Supreme Court, so that there is no geographical limitation in approaching the Supreme Court. However, guys, up till now, the Chief Justice has not used such constitutional power that has been given to him, and therefore the people are not able to often approach the Supreme Court because of the geographical restriction, because of the exorbitant cost. And this particular thing can be seen when we make a kind of analysis of the cases that are pending into the Supreme Court. Guys, here we can see that according to a report published by Center for Polity Research, a disproportionately high number of cases which are filed in Supreme Court, they are originated into the High Court, which are closer to Delhi. Here we can see that into the state such as the West Bengal, Bihar, Andhra Pradesh, they have 20% of the population of the entire country, but only 10% of the cases from these states are into the Supreme Court. However, almost 18% of the cases into the Supreme Court, they have originated from the Punjab and Haryana, which have less than 5% of the total population of the country. So clearly the nearby states of the Delhi has an advantage to approach the Supreme Court. Now the geographical constraint is not only the matter, even the lawyers or advocates which are practicing in the Supreme Court, they are also from the nearby states. The petitioners from the southern states or from the eastern India, western India, they don't have accessibility of their local lawyers into the Supreme Court, and therefore they have to always compromise in terms of quality, quantity, cost. Whatever is being given to them, they have to accept it. So guys, therefore there is an urgent need that a decentralized approach into the judiciary is to be taken up. Now guys, some respite came when the pandemic came and the lockdown was imposed. Into the lockdown, the virtual hearings got started, and then there was some respite to the people from southern states or the East India and West India. And now it has been suggested into this particular article that the virtual hearings should continue even after the pandemic has gone and the lockdown has been eased. And apart from these virtual hearings, also there is a kind of a consideration that is to be taken, that circuit benches are to be created. Even the law commission as well as the parliamentary committee had recommended the circuit benches of the Supreme Court around the country. So guys, this is an urgent judicial reform that is needed, because we have seen into the last few days that more than 3.8 crore cases or nearly 4 crore cases are pending into the judiciary and into the Supreme Court. Substantial number of constitutional cases are pending. So therefore this particular reform is to be taken up. So guys, that is all about this particular article, and now we'll be moving to the next article. No, guys, here this article has been taken from the Hindu newspaper, and here just a brief update is there. See what had happened. The president of the Russia, that is the Vladimir Putin, his term was to be expired in 2024. Now, what has happened? A kind of a constitutional decision has been taken where his terms have been again reset, and he can now be into the office till 2036. Now, this particular constitutional amendment act has also been voted by the voters of the Russia, and into this particular thing it has been said that it will give more stability to the Russian politics. Now guys, the opposition has also criticized this particular thing as unconstitutional, but no regard has been given to the opposition. So guys, that is all about this particular article. You don't need to go too much into the detail. So guys, that is all for the today's newspaper analysis. I hope that you have understood it, and I believe that it is proving to be fruitful for your preparation. That is all. Thank you so much.